we each have something to say. So first thing I'd like to do is for you to have something to say. I don't know if you all know each other. It's 2 years of COVID where, kids have been on a screen. You haven't been able to see each other. So why don't we just go around, tell us your name and your child's name and maybe just their birthday, right? So we don't know their bar mitzvah date yet, but we'll get a sense of where you will come up in the calendar. So who wants to go first? Okay, go on. Thank you.
I'm Michelle. Hi. And my son is Zach. And he is November 21.
Okay, so we have an end of the year. Okay, Michelle, thanks. Thanks. Danny, why don't we come over here?
Danny Charlotte. My son is Asher, and his birthday is June 25th.
Oh, well.
June 25th. Let's stay on this row. You're the first two to come in tonight. Talk about getting a special award.
Ellen and Lisa, we are parents for Dean and Leah.
Right. February 10th. Great. Okay, let's keep moving on.
Brad Buckin, my son's Logan. His birthday is April 19th.
So Brad, you are the first one who sent in the papers. I have them. And you're all set. You're all set to get a date. So, he's your North Star. Invite everybody else to follow him. Yeah?
Michael Cohen, this is Sophie. Her birthday is May 18th.
You guys are relatively new to the synagogue, so...
We moved to the area 6 months ago.
Yeah. Welcome to Ohev Shalom. I hope you like what you've encountered so far.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Okay. Okay, ladies.
I'm Sarah. My daughter is Jordan. Her birthday is
March 8th. Okay, March 8th.
Izzy Rockhour. My daughter is Ariana. Her birthday is May 12th.
May 12th. Okay, let's come to the first row over here.
My name is Michael Chackler. My daughter is Avery Chackler, June 28th.
June 28th. And we have...
Mom.
Yeah. Let's get into...
Lauren.
Hi, Lauren. Hi. Let's get into the scene. Okay, why don't we come from over here?
I'm Ashley Mendick, and this is Madison Mendick, and her birthday is May 13th.
Okay.
I'm Heather Wadensky. This is my husband, Ian Wadensky. And this is Sloan, and her
Hi,
birthday
guys.
is October 17th.
October 17th. Okay. So, folks, did you get the calendar last night? Yeah. I hope you find that helpful in some way. So let me just go over a couple of basic things, and then we'll get into a little bit more detail. There are basically, you have a choice of 3 kinds of services, right? The one that most people are having is a Shabbat morning service. And you can read about what the kids need to know and what they'll learn and so on and so forth. But that happens on Shabbat morning. It starts at 9:30. We're never quite sure when it ends. For a lot of people, it seems like it never ends, but around 12:15, we're done. So that's Shabbat morning. Then, 3 times during this year, there's going to be the possibility of a Sunday morning service. So if for whatever reason, I was bar mitzvah on a Sunday morning, for whatever reason you might want to have a Sunday morning service, the ones that are circled on the calendar are Sundays where you could have a Sunday service, and that if you have a Sunday service, it just needs to be followed by a reception in the social hall. And then the other, somebody already told me that they want to have a twilight service. So the other option is a twilight service. It begins about an hour and a half before Shabbat is over. So it depends what time of year it is. In June, your service is going to end like at 9:15. In December, it'll end like at 5:30 or so, 6 o'clock, 5:45. So that's, I can't tell you what time it starts and stops right now, and that also is followed by a reception in the social hall. Okay? So any questions about those 3 things? I mean, that's like the most basic of stuff that you want to know. So let me also say that our goal is for this meeting is for you to have a date for your child's bar bat mitzvah, right? That's the goal. That's what it's all about. But I also want to share with you that it's really not about, becoming bar bat mitzvah is not about one day in the life of a young person, right? It's not about that one day. Because really becoming bar and bat mitzvah means you become responsible for your Jewish life. So really it's about every day that happens after that day. It's just the beginning, But a lot of families do this, and I just want to share this with you because when I see a family doing this, I'm always like happy, moved, inspired. There are a lot of families who, say, look, we're having this big event. 3 years from now, then it'll be 2 years from now, then it'll be a year from now, it'll be a month from now, before you know it, it's going to be here. And they say, it would be really great if we use this as an opportunity for us, like as a family, to grow in our doing Jewish. Doing Jewish. What does doing Jewish mean? There's all kinds of Jewish things you can be doing. I could come up with a list of 1,000 things. I might choose to do 500 of them. You might choose to do 500 of them, and you may do 500 different things from what I'm doing. So I can't say to you, you ought to be doing this, and this. But the more we do Jewish, I think the better our connection is with our tradition, with the Jewish people, with God, with Torah, with each other. So I'd like to really invite you to think about as a family how we can do more Jewish. I'm going to give you an example. I don't want to give away the Cantor's talk, but at some point your child's going to learn to make the Kiddush, the Friday night Kiddush, right? And they're going to work with the Cantor on it, right? If the first time they make the Kiddush publicly is here at their bar and bat mitzvah, they don't really know that the Kiddush is designed to be made at home on Friday night. So here, while they're learning to make Kiddush, to have like a Friday night where you light Shabbat candles, and maybe you say motzi over a challah, and your child now, you know what, I was just talking to somebody. I was talking with somebody yesterday. He was in California. He's going to be our guest speaker for our Yom HaShoah service. He's a young guy. He's a young scholar. His name is Jared McBride. He's Jewish. You never know. McBride can be Jewish. And he was saying to me how his son, who's in preschool now, it's because of his son. I mean, he's a scholar. He's a scholar in the Jews of Ukraine. That's why I was in touch with him, right? But that his son, at 4 years old, is making the family do Jewish more. It can be our kids who are our inspirations. So when your kids come home and they say, we just learned something today. It was really great. Let's try it. If you try it, it's just so. So I'd love for you to use these 3 years between now and your date to do Jewish more and more, and let it be a time to grow as a family. And okay, enough for my soapbox for tonight. Okay, so there are 2 forms that I'm going to ask you to turn in. If you have them filled out tonight, you can turn them in tonight. If you need a week to fill them out, take the week, and you can either mail them to me at the synagogue, or even better, you can email them to me, right? But if you email them to me, I'm going to ask you, it says on the bottom, please do not take a picture of the form and then send the picture, because you all know this, it takes a tremendous amount of ink from my printer, and I'm doing a lot of this work at home, so my poor little printer at home, loses its ink. So just scan it and send it to me. Okay? So there's really 2 forms that we have here. One form is, our child's going to have a bar, bat mitzvah. We need your child's first name, middle name, Hebrew name, first and middle if they have, dad's Hebrew name, mom's Hebrew name, our child's birthday is, your emails, your cell phones. And then you're going to be choosing one of three: the Shabbat morning service, Shabbat twilight service, or the Sunday morning service. Okay, and that's all clear to us now. So it says, for those scheduling a Shabbat morning service, our plans are to reserve the social hall for a Kiddush luncheon, Shabbat afternoon luncheon, a Saturday evening reception, a Sunday afternoon reception, no reservation at all. Okay, let me just explain this, because this isn't totally clear. After, this hasn't happened for months now, but it's starting to happen again. After the Shabbat morning service and after your bar bat mitzvah, everybody's invited into the social hall for a Kiddush. And it's not a basic Kiddush. It's a lot better than what we do when we don't have a bar bat mitzvah. So congregants look forward to bar and bat mitzvahs because we get a cannoli out of it. Otherwise, we don't get cannolis, on a regular Shabbat morning. So there's a nice Kiddush, right? But then if you would like people to have a little bit more, like you would want them after that not to have to go out and get lunch, right? Because you're having an evening reception or whatever it is. So you can do what is called a Kiddush Luncheon, which is that, it's not a big fancy luncheon, but it's, a buffet kind of thing, and just enough for them to have a sandwich and salads and whatever, and, they're happy. So let me explain this a little bit. It's a Kiddush luncheon. When you do that, you're inviting the members of the congregation that will be coming, which are usually about 3 tables full. Hillary, is that about right? So if you're having 100 guests, you're going to tell your caterer to plan for 100 and, 25, something like that, right? Yeah. Okay. So, you know what? This is 3 years from now. I don't know if this is going to be the case 3 years from now, but we have had for the last 20 years a group called Bubby Gourmet. It's a group of volunteers within the synagogue, and they make these Kiddush luncheons. And they're great, And they have 3 different menus. You can get the Rolls Royce, or you can get the whatever. And I guess if you go into, is this still the case? If you go into our website, you can find Bubby Gourmet and see what the menus are.
Yes, but Bubby Gourmet has not been around.
Yeah. They haven't done anything for 2 years. So we're not sure that, Bubby Gourmet is going to get back on their feet. But,
They do, I can endorse them. They did my daughter's maintenance.
Yeah, they're great. It's yeah. Or you can just order things from a kosher caterer. You can have a kosher caterer bring it in, whatever. Okay, now a Shabbat afternoon luncheon is when you're really having your luncheon, that like the main celebration here in the synagogue. And usually, it's going to be so involved that involves only your invited guests. So it's a closed affair. And then you pay for the room. I don't know how much it is, but you pay for the room. And congregants don't come, so they have a different Kiddush someplace else. So, so that's a Shabbat afternoon luncheon. And then Saturday night reception, Sunday afternoon reception, whatever you would like. Okay? Any questions about that? No? We're good? Okay, listen, folks, on the other page, we need all these Hebrew names. So let me tell you what often happens. People ask somebody for their Hebrew name, and the person says, I don't know my Hebrew name. So they give me a form without all the names on it. And I say to them, no. It's not going to work. Got to get their Hebrew names. So then you bother them some more. And you know what? It normally turns out that if they have to ask their cousin, what their grandfather, whatever it is, their Hebrew name was, they find out the Hebrew names. So listen, be tough, folks. Be tough. Don't take no for an answer. They say, I don't know the Hebrew names. You say, you got to know the Hebrew names, right? My kid's got to get a bar mitzvah date. You got to give me a Hebrew name. So, good. So these two things you'll turn in together. And if you could do it within a week would be good, because then I want to start putting the dates together. Okay? Listen, this is not brain surgery, giving out the dates. It's not because for a number of years we were giving out 65, 70 dates in a given year. That was a challenge. That was a challenge. Now we're running what I like to call a boutique synagogue. We have 15, 18, 20 kids. This is a walk in the park. So chances are you're all going to be very happy with the date that you get. In the olden days, if somebody had a January birthday, they had a January bar mitzvah. There was just no way around it. February. Like, oh, can I have an April date? No, because we have 8 kids in April, and 6 kids in May, and 7 kids in June, so it's not going to work. But that's not the case anymore. So actually, we're almost never doing, we haven't done a January or February in a long time. Usually like mid-March is, and we just had our first one.
Usually in March is when the beginning is, but between December and March is the time where it kind of gets quiet. It's not to say that we don't invite and welcome you to do that, but it tends to be a quieter time, with vacations and everything, so we tend to pick up in March.
Yeah, but if you have a January birthday and you really want your child to have it as close to their birthday, it's not that we won't do them, it's just, okay. So, send in the material, and then I'm going to sit down and we'll assign the dates, and then I'll send you a letter, of what your dates are. And then in, I think it's the end of April, for Bet class Shabbat. Kids, how many of you are in Bet right now? In Bet, right? Yeah. So we always try to do it with Bet class Shabbat, so that while you're here for Bet class Shabbat, you also get your name announced, you get your date formally. You already know what your date is by then, and you get a certificate, and you get all these jelly beans, because we have all these jelly beans now. We got to get rid of them somehow. So yeah.
You're an olive, like she's an olive, and I know Zach is too.
Yeah, come that night also.
Can we come that night?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
The date is the last Friday, April 29th. Okay.
And we'll see you tomorrow night.
Yeah, we'll be there.
Consecration. It's a big night. Kids are great. Okay. So I think that's basically what I want to share. But there's a lot more for you to know, and that's from my 3 colleagues. Kenna, why don't you start out first? And
Sure. So I wanted just to touch upon what is going on within each of the 3 services.
you know what, Kenna,
Yeah.
can you talk from a microphone? Because
I have my
Oh, you have it on.
microphone. Yep.
Okay.
Can you guys all hear me all right? Perfect.
Okay.
I feel most comfortable behind the piano, so I'm just going to hang out right here. So like I was saying, the 3 service formats that we welcome you guys to choose from, I wanted to give you a little bit of background about what happens within that service to give a little more insight if you're considering one or the other, or maybe both, to give you a little more informed decision. So I would say Shabbat morning is the most traditional of the 3, right? We have, in each of the services, the Shabbat morning, Saturday afternoon, and Sunday. We all have Torah reading. That's like the meat and potatoes of a Bar Mitzvah service. But then there are different elements to the service. So Shabbat morning, I like to think of the service as breaking it down into 4 parts. We have the preliminary service, which is like an introductory psalms, liturgical poems, to kind of get us warmed up in the service. That's led by a congregant of ours. And then we get into what we call Shachari, which is like the real essence of the morning service. And so our students tend to lead a couple prayers within the Shacharit service, like the Shema V'Ahavta, maybe a Chatzi Kaddish. But then, like I mentioned before, the Torah service is where the student really shines, because they are bringing the prayers that welcomes the Torah being read. The student reads from the Torah scroll. There's also an additional reading from the Jewish Bible, the Tanakh, called the Haftarah, that's also chanted on a Saturday morning. And then there's the Musaf, which is like the concluding prayers. En Keloheinu, Aleinu, Adon Olam. So these prayers might be familiar to you. So that's a very typical traditional service Saturday morning. When it comes to twilight or Saturday afternoon, it's a combination of two services. It's Shabbat afternoon, Mincha, and concluding Shabbat evening service, Ma'ariv. With that, like I mentioned, there's Torah reading. There is no additional Haftarah, but there is a service called Havdalah, right? So many of us maybe might be familiar with this. This is the ceremony that concludes Shabbat. So we take out a Havdalah candle, we say the blessing over wine and spices, and it's a really beautiful element to conclude the service. In years past, prior to COVID, we would all kind of mush up together here on the bima, where the B Mitzvah student would lead us in the room that's kind of dark, but with the light of the Havdalah candle, and it's such a beautiful, beautiful moment. So that's like a lovely additional element that you don't see in the other services of Shabbat morning or Sunday. And when it comes to Sunday morning, it tends to typically be Rosh Chodesh, which is the new month. And so when there's a new month, there's again, of course, Torah reading, no Haftarah, no additional Jewish Bible excerpts, but there is a section called Hallel. And Hallel is a collection of liturgical poems, of psalms, that are chanted or sung as a celebration of welcoming the new month. So if you have a child who's especially musical, that is something that might be something to consider as well. If you have, I really don't want to specifically say which service is meant for your child, but I only say Sunday with Hallel because that is a very musical service. Everything is sung. Like you saw tonight at Ma'ariv, the evening service tonight, there's a combination of the leader chanting some things, moments that are quiet, that are personal or individualized prayers. So there's a lot of back and forth in all three of those services, but the Hallel part is straight through singing, and it's a really lovely, lovely part of the service on Sunday. So I just wanted to give you a little bit more of a picture as how each of these services run. I'm always happy to answer any questions. Are there any questions right now that anybody has in regards to these services? Great. And like I said, it's not, you don't have to have any questions for me at the moment, but if something does come up, you're welcome to give me a call or email me. So the only other one aspect I wanted to add, with regard to tutoring in general, I'm not going to get into specifics, but I wanted to share with you what I consider like the three pillars of this whole process. All right, so Rabbi alluded to a little bit of bringing Shabbat into the home. And we still have a few years before tutoring actually takes place. So there's a lot of room to explore what Shabbat could look like for you. For any of the parents here who either have grown up with Shabbat in some form or now they're growing up, or maybe that's something you do on a regular. But all I would suggest, or all I would invite you all to do, is finding little bits and pieces to integrate Shabbat into your home. So, there's one of the beautiful traditions that we have, and we have a fantastic gift shop here, the Simcha Boutique run by our sisterhood, is when families come together with their B Mitzvah student to pick out a prayer shawl, a talit. And that's a really great occasion to add the child's personality and thoughts about how they want to appear on the bima. But something even simpler than that, I know that in Hebrew school, my son is in pre-Gan right now, and they always come home every year with a Shabbat kit. So I imagine that some of you have old Kiddush cups from when your kids were younger, or a challah cover. So, start bringing those out. Dust them off, find them in the box that you had from a couple of years ago, and maybe you want to give it a try. If you're looking for a challah recipe, I love making challah, and I'm happy to share my recipe. If you're a baker, if that's something you're into, like little things that kind of bring Shabbos into the home is really, and because you have so much time to do it, It's not saying that you have to, but just explore these different elements, because as Rabbi said, the prayer for Friday night Kiddush is something that we do as we bring Shabbat into our house. So there's a lot of different ways in which to do that. So I'm happy to talk more about that as well. The other pillar, of course, is services. Now that we are back into the sanctuary, so thankful for that, because over COVID, we've created a really beautiful community over Zoom. But now that we are here in the sanctuary, it's a really important piece of this whole process to become familiar. You are, the parents in this room, are the support system for your child. What you are helping them, whether that's quite literally with the Hebrew, whether making sure they're keeping up with their assignments, you are their support system. And anybody else in the family who has some kind of knowledge about the services or when they missed a process, that your child's going to look to you. So coming to services is going to add that layer of knowledge, understanding where the prayers that the kids are going to be learning are going to be in the service, just basic familiarity with the layout. I really encourage you guys to come. We have, Friday nights, which is about an hour or so service, and Saturday morning tends to be a little bit longer, and I understand that sometimes with scheduling that can be challenging, but Friday nights are a really great way to incorporate Shabbat in that way and also to become familiar with the service. So I definitely encourage you guys to join our Shabbat community, because we love having our young kiddos come join us. We love having new friends and new faces on a Friday night and Saturday morning too. But that, I feel, is a great way to beef up your support at home, to understand what's going on so that you can apply that knowledge here in the sanctuary to what your child is going to be doing in a couple years at home. And of course, the last big piece of it is the tutoring. So I am the main tutor of the whole process. It's about a 10-month process, and your child and I get together once a week. But I also wanted to mention that in addition to myself, we have here at Ohev Shalom an exceptional team. I attribute to this to Menehelet Barbara and Suzanne Gold, and between the three of us and our teachers as well, we have a really exceptional team that helps students feel good about their learning and try to help them find different ways in which they can succeed. So if there are additional things that you're considering that you'd like us to know, by all means, Menehelet Barbara, myself, we're happy to have a bigger conversation about how we can accommodate and make things more meaningful and more rich for your students. So just wanted to put those things out there. There's a lot more to come down the road, but I'm always around. I'm an email or a phone call away if you have any other questions regarding all of this. I know it's a lot to take in, and you're just taking it, listening, but I'm really thankful for all of you guys being here. And this is fantastic. I said when the Chalkers came in, I can't believe that this class is starting their B mitzvahs. It's very exciting, but just a shock in the most wonderful way.
Great. So any questions for Kenner? We're good? So there's a very famous teaching in the Talmud. It's really in the smallest tractate of the Talmud, called Pirkei Avot, and you probably have heard this many times. Whether you heard it in Hebrew school or not, you've heard it many times. So it comes from the great sage Hillel, who says, if I am not for myself, who will be for me? Right? Like, I gotta be for myself first. I gotta take care of myself. But then he goes on to say, if I'm only for myself, then what am I? Like, I gotta care about myself, but if the only thing I care about is me, then really, what am I? And then the last thing is if not now, when? So, just watch on TV shows, you'll hear a character go, if not now, when? Or in a speech. And they probably don't know that it came originally from Hillel, but anyhow. So listen, the reason why I'm saying this is really for the middle teaching. If I'm only for myself, what am I? So, kids, in your bar and bat mitzvah day, you're going to be the star of the show. It really is all about you, But we want you to know that life is not only about me. And even at this special time in your life, we want you to not only focus on yourself, but doing something for someone else or someone's else, right? You know, it could be. So we have a program called a Gemilut Chasadim project, which is a hard Hebrew phrase to say. So for short, we call it the Chesed project. Chesed means kindness, right? And I think that this is like a really, really, really important part of becoming bar bat mitzvah. Really important part. So it's so important that Menahelet Barber is running this part of it, so that we know it'll be done. It'll be done right. So Barbara, can I just invite you to talk a little bit about the Chesed project? And
I don't have a microphone, so I'll just talk loudly.
no, you have to, because otherwise it won't get on the recording.
Great.
So just come up here.
Hi, everyone. The Chesed project is my favorite part because it could be anything you want it to be that's meaningful, important to your family, and you can explore different ways of giving back to your community, starting now. And then the 10 months when you start your bar and bat mitzvah training is the year that your project ramps up, and I'll meet with you. I'll offer ideas and suggestions. I do check-ins 3 months before. Some of the projects that students have done, we've had volunteer at the SPCA. We've had sports collection. There's different organizations in the area, and you can spend the next couple of years exploring and seeing what's meaningful and what you and your children and is what makes you guys feel good. You can go to Jewish Relief Agency and pack boxes of food and deliver food. If you're looking for ideas, I'm your person. Reach out to me. Things are now back in person, which is great because, the last 2 years there were a lot of virtual opportunities. And personally, I find virtual's okay, but you can actually get the hands-on. It's definitely more meaningful. So just reach out to me. We every week, every month, we find new organizations. We just had one speak with us this week for people who are really heavy into sports, collecting used sports equipment, a drive, and then bringing it to an organization that then donates it to underprivileged communities. So there's a ton of things out there for soccer players, for dancers, for animal lovers, anybody who really wants to get back to just, the Jewish community. So let me know. The other thing, 2 things I want to real quickly share with you. I've been there 3 times. So if you have any questions about anything from soup to nuts, ask me, and I'm happy to help you. And like Cantor Annalise said, the reason we have class Shabbatot, when we have each class come to the synagogue, to Friday night service, to get the kids comfortable on the bima. Because we really don't want their first time to be on the bima for their bar and bat mitzvah. So that's our curriculum reinforces and supports that. So I just wanted to let you know, if you have any questions about that piece also, just reach out to me. I'll have my email and everything. So thanks. I know these are preschool, I can't believe it.
Okay, here, I'll just put it down over here. Yeah, I'll take it. So, it would be so fascinating. We can't do this, and we won't do this, and we shouldn't do this. But what would be fascinating is, what's all going on in your heads right now? While we're giving you all this information, what are you thinking? Well, what's going on here? There's just one thing I want to tell you, is that, we can say 100 times that this is a happy occasion, but I know as a matter of fact, for some families where there are issues in the family, and you can kind of keep it swept under the rug, but now you're going to have this public event, now what do you do? And sometimes, it can cause anxiety, it can cause all kinds of stuff. If there's anything about your upcoming bar bat mitzvah that you'd like to sit down and talk about it, I'm more than available to, sit and talk with you and listen to you. And, sometimes we can find a way to deal with it or cope with it that, might be helpful. You're going to have tons of questions for the cantor, right? You know, that are all dealing with the service. Barbara, as she just said, has been through this 3 times. She knows firsthand what you're dealing with now, the happy parts and the stressful parts. And also questions about the Chesed project go to Barbara. But Hillary is the person that is dealing with the nuts and bolts of the synagogue and how you function here in the synagogue. So we're saving Hillary to wrap this all up, because that's what she really does as the synagogue administrator. She kind of like connects all the pieces. So, Hillary? Yeah, it's right there. Just turn it on when you pick it up. See it? Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Up until now, I've probably been a stranger with her name on the stationery to you. We're going to become best friends. As Rabbi said, I handle everything for your bar and bat mitzvah that is not within the service part. That we leave up to the clergy. Barbara does the education, and I will do everything else. So right now, I am getting together a list for you, which will be, at some point, you'll be getting a binder. And in that binder will be everything that you ever needed to know about having a bar mitzvah at Ohev Shalom. And in that, I will have a list of suggestions for caterers. As Rabbi said, they have to be kosher. If you have a brother-in-law in North Jersey who is a kosher caterer, get me their name and their kashrut certificate, and so long as it's approved by the powers that be here, happy to use them. There are a couple of stipulations, and I'll need to talk with them, but we're more than happy to accommodate. If you have noticed, I don't know if you've been to any bar mitzvahs here, but we have baskets on either side of the beamer, 1, 2, that are boxes of food or cans of food, and that's done by Federation because we care, and I will be getting you that number. You need a DJ, you need a florist, I'll take care of all that for you. Every service now will be on YouTube. We have 2 cameras right up here. I understand there are people watching right now. All you have to do is go to our website, scroll down to where you see Ohev Shalom YouTube pages, click on that, and you can watch this meeting all over again, or your child's bar mitzvah when the time comes. We will be you'll want to set up pictures, and I will do that with you. We usually do them Thursdays at 3 o'clock. So all of this is very overwhelming right now, and I know it seems like, so much stuff. But we'll be meeting again. You can always call me. You can always email me. I am more than happy to talk to you. This is like the best part of my job, that I get to work with all of you. So thank you. And that is just about it. I do have a list in case anybody wants to start exploring once they get their dates. I do have a list of some of the approved caterers right now, so I can give this to you if you're interested. I will leave it up here for you. Don't feel obligated to take it, but it's just to help you out. And I look forward to working with all of you. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Hillary. Thanks. So I want to tell you, I've never kept count on how many bar and bat mitzvahs I've officiated at here in Ohev Shalom. I've never kept a count because the only one that really matters is the one that's happening that day. So I want you to know that for us, and I know I speak for the cantor as well, that yours is not like just another bar and bat mitzvah. Like we did one last week, we're doing one next week, this week we're doing yours. That doesn't happen here. Each one is unique in its own ways. And just to give you an example, we had a bat mitzvah this past Shabbat morning. There were things that happened during the service that just moved me so much. And I couldn't stop using the word gift during the service. There were things that happened that were like a gift for me that had happened in the service. And it was, Cantor, it was like,
It's a beautiful day, yeah.
and we couldn't stop talking about it when we met on Tuesday. We were all talking about it. So, and you know, there's always something that happens that's unique to every family. The reason why I'm sharing this with you now is that our joy is often increased the more we know you, right? And there are different kinds of people that belong to the congregation. Some people want to remain anonymous. Like, no, I don't want them to know me so much, they'll ask me to run for president of the congregation. Like, you know, so better I lay low, they don't know me, and, you know, get what I need, and I'll be done. So, but, you know, what we would like is the more we can know you, the happier we are. So let me just tell you that the family just joined the synagogue recently. The last family that you just sent me an email a couple of weeks ago that they joined, I sent them an email and I said, you know, I'd be happy to get together with you to get to know you. And they wrote back, you know, weekdays are not great, but Sunday morning is good. So we're going to get together on a Sunday morning. And I love that. So if you ever want to just get together and sit and talk, like it's no imposition on my time, that's what I'm here to do. So I would love to do that. Seeing people at services and getting a chance to say hi, you know, like, so that's a connection. If there's ever an adult education class that Cantor's teaching or I'm teaching and you're interested in that, it's another way we make connections. So any way we can like have a connection with each other, with your kids, like the better off we'll be. Like don't be a stranger, you know? Like, yeah. So listen, I feel terribly embarrassed right now because I'm not quite sure how to handle this. That not only are we not running late, we're running early. So this is very embarrassing. So, you know, we can wrap up, but if there's any questions, you know, why don't we just take them and then, yeah, sure.
About this form?
Yeah, which form in particular?
The one you have to fill out
Yeah, okay, oh, yeah.
with the, maybe you don't question, it says no reservation required.
No, if you don't really need to use the social hall, right. Yeah, right. I mean, I guess it doesn't need to be there because if you don't check anything else, it means you're not reserving anything, but kind of like makes it a little bit more. Anything else, folks? Okay, so send it in to me however you're going to do that. If you have it filled out tonight, I'm happy to take it. If you have any questions that you want to ask me afterwards, or Cantor, or Hillary, or Barbara, you know, or anything related to that, happy to give you the information. And otherwise, just tell people that by 8:12 we were done. Like, wow, it's a miracle. And guys, you're all still awake. I can't believe it. Wow, cool. Yeah, right. Good. Okay, thanks, folks. The party begins, so we're off and running.
Thanks, everyone.
And for the Aleph kids, see you tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, so you got this. Let me just take a quick look, okay? I'm scared about about tomorrow night. Oh, you're going to be great. You know your stuff.
He knows his stuff. He's great.
I've heard you a million times. You're great.
My husband tried to write everything in Hebrew on the side of all the
Oh, good for him. Good for him.
He copied off baby naming, the ketubah.
God bless him. You are Avira Gila?
No, I'm a Bira.
Abira. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Abira.
It's so funny because my husband's like, you're Avira. I'm like, no, I'm Avira because there's no vowels on the ketubah. So I went to go find my naming certificate that my parents that I have at my house.
It's Abira.
It's Avira. You had it at your house? Yeah, my parents just gave it to me like a year ago when they wanted all my stuff at
Hey,
their house.
Sloan. Let me hear your Hebrew name. God bless you. Okay, you got it. Okay, and your husband's father is Binyamin Zev, Reuven, Esther Sima. Oh, okay. Abira. Your dad is Hirsch? Or just,
It's Hirsch lied, he said.
but he put a hey in there. It's Hirsch.
Yeah, it must be Hirsch.
Yeah.
He has a really heavy Spanish accent, so I was trying
Really?
to figure
Really?
it out. My dad, yeah.
Where's he?
You'll see tomorrow.
Where's he from?
Uruguay.
Wow.
Yeah, there's a big Jewish population in Uruguay.
Yeah, Kenna's family is from Venezuela.
Oh, shit.
They might. Oh, excuse me. They're neighbors.
And my mom doesn't have a middle name. She just has a
It's okay. Okay, great. Okay, this is good.
It's all good?
Yeah.
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 Oh, just so you know, I don't know if it matters, but Sloan's name has a T. Wait, it's when they're 12?
Really? No. So here's the deal. No. Wait. So according to Jewish law, a boy becomes bar mitzvah at 13. A girl becomes bat mitzvah at 12. The rabbis understood that you folks are much more mature than we are, and you reach an age of maturity at 12. We do it at 13. But in that framework, the girl had no celebration of becoming bat mitzvah. Maybe they had a little party. She didn't go up to the Torah. She didn't participate in the service at all. Like, they sat upstairs or they sat behind the curtain. So now that boys and girls become bar and bat mitzvah and they're being treated equally, so we want everything to be equal, right? So if somebody says, technically a girl becomes bat mitzvah or is at 12, gezinta hate, but we celebrate it at 13.
Oh, okay, so it's 2025, definitely.
It's 2025, yeah.
2035, okay.
Yeah.
You can't really just say it's 12.
So I was just curious to see if there's the end of June, if they would go to September.
Well, if it all depends. So like in the olden days, it would be, do we have room in June or do we have room in September? But usually we do, what is it, late June?
Like June 28th.
So I would recommend doing it in June, not waiting for September. I'll tell you why. Because for a couple of reasons. One, kids forget stuff over the summer, and so like that break. The other thing is kids start getting a whole different group of friends. So there's kids that from last year would have been invited, and now they're in school for a couple of weeks. Those kids aren't with them. They have all these new friends that they just made. I think like becoming bar mitzvah in September, October is a little bit tricky. So, I mean, I would say go with June. Bat mitzvah's done, summer's here, move on with your life. Yeah.
And do you give us a couple days to choose from? Like, say one of Maddie's best friends is nursing dog. It's the same. Her birthdays are 3 days apart. Like her and her best friend. So I want to make sure with her mom that it's on the same day as Maddie. Like, do you give us?
Okay, so no, what you need to do is on the paper that you give me, you have to give me the dates that are not good for you.
I don't know when she got her date yet.
Okay, so if she didn't get her date yet,
So I have to tell first.
let me turn this off. So then you have